The strangest thing about the future of Doctor Who right now is that it all comes down to a single word, not a press release, not a grand announcement, not even a reassuring smile. Just one word dropped like a grenade in the middle of fandom. And that word was behave. Russell T Davies, the man who revived Doctor Who in 2005, the man who rebuilt the franchise twice, and the man who currently holds the keys to its survival, was asked point blank about the future of the show, and instead of giving clarity, instead of soothing the fears of a fractured fandom, he looked at the questioner and replied with one word: behave! Now, you can laugh. It's cheeky, it's sarcastic, it's pure RTD, but let's not brush this off too quickly, because if you listen closely, you'll hear the echoes of panic, secrecy, and perhaps something far darker. When the future of the world's longest running sci-fi show is in question, and the man in charge refuses to answer, isn't that the loudest answer of all? Think about it. Just weeks ago, the BBC left fans dangling after the regeneration twist that nobody saw coming, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor splitting into two and passing the torch not to another male actor, but to Billie Piper, of all people. Rose Tyler herself. The shock was seismic. Social media went into meltdown. For some fans, it was the boldest, most genius move since the revival began. For others, it was the moment Doctor Who finally lost the plot. And just as the chaos started to settle, people began asking the obvious question. What's next? Is Billie Piper really the Doctor now? Is Ncuti still in the role? Is the series doubling down on Beat Generation? Is this even canon? And right in the middle of this storm, Russell is asked about the future. And instead of confirming, instead of denying, instead of doing what a showrunner usually does, he tells us, the fans, to behave. Now, let me ask you this. Would you ever tell someone to behave unless you knew they were dangerously close to discovering something they weren't supposed to? Because that's exactly what this sounds like. Russell T Davies has a long history of teasing, trolling, and cryptically hiding the truth in plain sight. Back in 2005, when people asked about Daleks, he said, "No plans." Weeks later, Daleks were everywhere. When fans questioned the casting of Catherine Tate as Donna Noble, he told them to relax. That relax turned into one of the most beloved companions in modern Doctor Who. And now, when asked about the very survival of the franchise in the wake of Disney's rumored departure, Netflix's alleged takeover, and Billie Piper's shock regeneration, he drops one single, mischievous command: behave. But here's the thing. Fans aren't behaving. They're theorizing, they're digging. They're pulling apart contracts, leaks and production rumors. They're speculating on secret filming schedules, vanished spin-off announcements, and Disney's suspicious silence. They're connecting dots that maybe, just maybe, weren't meant to be connected. And I have to ask, what if the reason Russell doesn't want us asking questions is because the truth is far scarier than we imagine? Let me throw something out there. What if behave wasn't cheeky at all? What if it was a warning? Imagine a scenario where the BBC is terrified of backlash, where Disney has already pulled away from funding the show, but the news hasn't been made official, where Billie Piper's regeneration wasn't supposed to leak early, but marketing missteps exposed it, where scripts are being rewritten on the fly and production contracts are hanging by a thread. In that world, one slip of the tongue could bring the entire house of cards tumbling down. And in that world, what's easier? To tell fans the truth, or to brush it off with a single word? And here's the controversial bit: maybe Russell doesn't know the full truth either. Remember, showrunners are often caught in the middle, trapped between the network above and the writer's room below. If Disney really is reconsidering its partnership, if the BBC is in talks with Netflix and HBO Max, if spin-offs are being quietly cancelled or delayed, Russell might be under strict orders to say nothing. And so instead, he laughs, he jokes, he says behave. And in that one word, he says everything. I want to pause here and ask you, the viewer, what do you think behave really means? Is it a deflection, a joke, or the biggest red flag yet? Let me know in the comments, because your theories are just as valuable as the insiders leaking whispers online. And if you're new here, this is exactly the kind of forbidden, behind-the-scenes knowledge we break down every week. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because the BBC certainly isn't going to explain this, but we will. Now let's look closer at the word itself. Why behave? Why not patience? Why not wait and see? Why not don't worry? Russell could have chosen dozens of harmless answers, but he chose the one that implies we're doing something wrong, that fans are misbehaving, that digging too deep, asking too many questions, spreading too many theories is dangerous. Almost like the truth is hidden under lock and key, and if we pull too hard, we'll break it wide open. Remember when the BBC spoiled its own finale by announcing Ncuti's regeneration into Billie Piper before the episode aired? Fans called it one of the worst marketing blunders in recent history. But was it really a blunder? Or was it intentional damage control, forcing the reveal early so they could control the narrative before leaks spiraled out of hand? If that's true, then behave starts to sound less like a joker and more like an order. Stay in line, don't question, don't ruin what we're desperately trying to protect. But protect what exactly? A surprise, a contract, a deal with another streaming giant, or something far bigger, like the very future of Doctor Who as a flagship franchise? Because let's not forget, the show has never been more unstable than it is right now. Disney's global distribution deal is teetering. Ratings have fractured between die-hard fans and casual viewers. The spin-offs that were loudly promised in interviews have suddenly gone missing. Unit series has no release date. The rumored Sea Devils project vanished. And meanwhile, all the BBC can offer us is one word from Russell: behave. So let's flip this. What if behave isn't meant for us, the fans, at all? What if it's aimed at the BBC itself? Imagine Russell saying it not to us, but to the executives. Behave. Don't ruin this. Don't cancel the spin-offs. Don't panic about the backlash. Don't destroy the momentum we've built. Maybe the word slipped out, aimed at the wrong audience, and now we're left wondering if we weren't supposed to hear it. And that, right there, is the problem. Because when a single word carries more weight than an entire press conference, you know something is wrong behind the curtain. So let's go deeper. Because the strangest thing about that one word, behave, is not just how short it was, but how loaded it might be. Think about it, RTD isn't new to this game. He has teased before. He has hidden answers in plain sight. And every time he does, it's almost like a magician's misdirection. He makes you laugh while quietly changing the future of the show behind the curtain. Now, let's loop back. When he said, behave, was that just a cheeky, offhand way of avoiding spoilers? Or was it a warning, a subtle push to the fandom, telling us, don't ask questions you're not ready to hear the answers to? Because here's where the problem grows darker. Doctor Who right now is in one of the most fragile positions it's ever been in. The Disney-Plus partnership collapsing in silence, the Billie Piper regeneration twist splitting the fandom in two, the promised spin-offs, Unit, the war between the land and the sea, still nowhere to be seen. And now, the showrunner himself refusing to give a straight answer. That's not just mystery, that's tension, and it's looping. What if, and hear me out, behave was not about fans asking spoilers, but about BBC executives demanding silence? What if RTD is under strict orders not to reveal the chaos happening behind the scenes? Because if the truth leaked too early, it could tank negotiations, ruin deals, and push fans into panic mode. And let's not forget, this is the same Russell T Davies who once said in an interview that Doctor Who's future is always one phone call away from disaster. That wasn't a joke, that was reality. And maybe behave is his way of saying, don't make me say something I'm not allowed to. But here's the bigger loop. If silence is his strategy, then what's hiding inside the silence? Could it be the rumored Netflix takeover? Could it be HBO circling in, ready to seize the property? Or, even darker, could it be that Doctor Who is heading toward a soft reboot, one so drastic that even mentioning it now would cause a storm online? I mean, think about it. Billie Piper regenerating into the Doctor isn't just a twist. It feels like a backdoor pilot, a setup, and maybe behave is Russell warning us not to look too closely, not yet. But let's turn this back on you. What do you think? When RTD says behave, is he teasing us, warning us, or laughing at us? Drop your theories in the comments, because I know the fandom has wild ideas, and honestly, some of you might already be closer to the truth than you realize. And remember, this isn't the first time Russell has played with words. He once hid clues for entire story arcs inside throwaway interviews. What if this single word is a breadcrumb leading us to the future? Because the more you think about it, behave doesn't close the door, it opens it.